Good afternoon. I do hope you enjoyed your little break coffee, sponsored by CargoX, GTS, and Accenture. Now we are proceeding with the session number 7, which is about data-driven decisions for sustainable supply chains. But before we proceed with this particular session, let me give you one administrative note that please stay until the end of this session, and only at the end of this session, the Tech Talks will start. So those ones interested in Tech Talks will have the possibility to join these Tech Talks only after this session. Just an administrative note. Now about this particular session. This session will help us to understand, actually, how customs can turn trade and logistics into actionable environmental insights. It seems already interesting while saying this, and we have a very interesting, the chain of the speakers to share their perspectives, ideas, and challenges in this particular area. This session will be moderated by the Director of Policy and Standards of the WCO Secretariat, Gail Gruby. Director, please, you're invited to join the scene together with the speakers. Please.
Okay, thank you. Now, distinguished panelists and distinguished delegates, this session is actually quite special because, as mentioned in the introduction, here we're talking about how data and technology are being used to actually make progress in improving the sustainability of trade and customs. Across the world, countries are looking to improve sustainability and resource efficiency of customs and trade, to protect our environment from illicit and harmful trade, and to promote more sustainable trade. So this panel is very important, and that's looking at how we can harness the data and technology just to contribute to these goals, to make them real. Now I'm going to move straight into the substance to give us maximum time for questions. So I'd like to introduce our first two speakers, Mr. Evan Smith, the co-founder and CEO of Altana, and Mr. Lars Carlson, Global Head of Trade and Customs Consulting at Maersk. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you, Gail, and good morning, everybody. And we all know what this is. This is my passport, but it's also my identity, my status, my traveling compliance record, and all my permits. It's the only thing I need to cross a border. And when I was speaking from the stage at the World Customs Organization Technology Conference in Rio, I said, why can't we have this for goods? And ladies and gentlemen, Chairperson, I say we now have that. And that is the news of today. And that is really needed because there is a big paradigm shift when it comes to, of course, how we govern borders and regulations that we have seen that is normally connected with borders traditionally, that is now very much going into the extended supply chain, end-to-end value chain. And that is, of course, for ESG, environmental, social protection, and governance, as we talk about on this panel. And that is, of course, as we know, for already existing regulations like that, that is multi-tier, end-to-end, like carbon border adjustment mechanism, the EU deforestation regulation, of course, the forced labor and child labor regulations. But that's not it. That's just the starting point. We are supervising around 10 other regulations of the same kind in other jurisdictions around the world right now, on the way on implementation. They're all similar, but they're also all different. And that, of course, is the challenge we have for border agencies and customs administrations like you are representing here today, many of you. Of course, the challenge is to enforce that. challenge for us in trade is to comply with that. So how can we do that? Well, of course, the traditional transaction-based, paper-based systems where we have standardized documents for customs and standardized more than 40 of them for trade is just not enough and not fit for purpose to do that. So we just need to redesign the customs process. And it's all about data. Data is the new currency of international trade. Data is the new language of customs, and we need to start do the conversation in that language together, exchange on how we can do this. We also do this, of course, in Maersk and in the industry, taking a leadership on collecting data from source all through the supply chain and making it valuable, redefining it in various ways, validate, verify, and manage that data for various purposes. And that is the new way of collecting data in complementary views to the standardized documentation we have. So what we need to do is also to look into how this can create trust in a time of uncertainty where we need agility. And we will do that, in our case, by actually seeing how we can create intelligent digital trade corridor, AI-powered in screening and in various ways of managing that data and sharing that data in various ways. And we need to elevate the elements, the systems we have from World Customs Organization about trust. So authorized economic operators, trusted trader programs need to be plus systems. Also now including trusted networks, trusted products, and trusted trade lanes. And we are doing that, and my colleague and friend and partner, Evan Smith, will just explain how we do it and why. Evan, over to you.
Thank you. So there's a couple of key things to take away from this. One is that in order to have an ESG compliance or enforcement system, or in order to navigate, for example, the new tariff regime in the United States, and I guess you're tracking 10 different policies that are all now regulating the extended value chains of the goods that cross borders. So in order to enforce and comply with this new policy paradigm, we need a new form of attestation at the border. And what we've created is a product passport to do just that. So think about this as product identity with the multi-tier value chain behind the goods, the component parts, the raw materials, and the origin of that value chain, all in one package that's delivered proactively and prepared by Maersk with additional data elements for the purpose of trade facilitation and enhanced trade enforcement efficiency. So let me bring this to life. We've been piloting this system in the United States with the Customs and Border Protection Agency, and I'm going to give a real-life example of an ESG regulation, so around forced labor, where most of you all know the apparel brand LL Bean. LL Bean had 47 shipments in a row from the same garment manufacturer detained at the border. And 47 times in a row, after millions of dollars of legal fees and customs brokerage fees and business interruptions, every single time, they eventually were successful in having those goods released. And yet the next shipment would arrive and it would be the same thing over again. And the fundamental reason is because there was no product identity. The customs declaration is merely a transactional record with an item description and an HS code. There's no canonical, persistent understanding of the goods and their origin. So we help to solve that. Now, LL Bean is able to pre-validate not just a shipment, but the actual production of these goods, in some cases before manufacturing. So they're moving their entire next season's catalog onto this system in order to do pre-compliance validation, or pre-arrival validation and pre-manufacturing validation of the compliance of these goods. So this is all to say now that in a public-private partnership model, there's both the data architecture and the technology architecture to take importers and their suppliers, logistics providers, and customs authorities into this new value chain shaped network and deliver these attestations and disclosures in exchange for trade facilitation benefits. So now that the declaration comes, it's just simply a reference to the item ID, the product passport ID, for the compliance determination that's already been made.
And of course, we need a new partnership to make this happen, as Evan was explaining, right? So in various ways, we need to find the platform, and that is why the WCO Tech Conference is so really timely, and that this panel is really discussing a very important topic, and all of you being here for that platform of having that dialogue, having the conversation how we can take this to scale. Because this is not a vision we're talking about. It's happening right now. It's operational right now. And of course, it means that, as Evan explained, we are collecting that data from source. We are collecting it voluntarily with our customers, with our partners, all through the supply chain, sometimes with competitors. And that is entity data, that is network data, that is product data, it's customs data, but it's also goods movement data. So it's, again, supervising 24/7 in real life the container movements and other movements of goods all through. All of that data we bundle together into this product passport in a way where it's a digital passport collecting a number of different subsets, and it's updated all the time. And we make that available for other stakeholders as well. So can you imagine if you had all of that data for risk management purposes, not at the border, but 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks before the border, before the goods gets to your customs territory? What you can do with it from a compliance, risk management, and border management point of view, with coordinated border management, all the other good models that we have. Of course, that is an advantage, and that is what we are doing. And in fact, we are doing it with some of you already in this room, as Evan said already now. So we have done piloting, we are doing operational work on this in a number of geographies already, but we are looking for more, because this also fits into the change of the industry per se. So we are not going only to be green in the future and meeting the ESG requirements that are there together with our partners. But what we are also doing, there's a change of the industry because of all the changes in the world right now that fits really well within this model and this strategy to actually get that data and get it possible to be used. And we want to continue that dialogue. What does that mean for the border? For WCO, for bringing in academia, private sector into the mix of seeing how we can use the already existing standards like the WCO data model and all the things that are there with this new model that we see will be scaled in the future. So I will end by actually saying and giving a promise to you right now, Gail, because I will say that on the next WCO Technology Conference, a few years from now, I can promise you all that you will not only see the passport for goods, but you will all have one if you want to. And if you want to know more and want to be part of how we scale this and make this even quicker, the reality of international trade, you can see us at G9, the stand outside, and we will explain more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lars and Evan. This is my personal view. If we can scale this, we can harmonize this across the world, this is the most exciting transformation I think we've seen since the containerization of cargo. This, to have a persistent identity for goods, opens up so many opportunities, not only for more efficient and effective customs procedures, but also for greatly enhanced supply chain integrity. So this is incredibly exciting and has the power to be transformative. And speaking of transformative, that rolls very nicely into our next speaker. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Philippe Dupontel, Director for Customs Tariffs and Digital Delivery of Customs and Taxation Policies at the European Commission. Dear Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Gail, and thanks, Lars. And even I have a few slides, so I'll go over there and try to offer some government perspective on this issue. What I wanted to start is first ask a number of questions, and we think from a European perspective that customs policy and data are becoming really a central operational pillar of our European approach to sustainability and circular economy agenda. And I wanted to share a few examples to illustrate how we're doing this. From the European Union perspective, customs is no longer only about revenue collection or trade facilitation, because we see that custom authorities today worldwide and certainly in the European Union act as the first border control line and enforcement for a growing number of non-core customs policies, I would say, such as environment, climate, product sustainability policies, which apply to all the goods which are entering or leaving the European Union market. And so I have three questions for you today around which I will structure my brief presentation. The first question is really how we in the EU use customs and trade data to support such sustainability objectives, and I will illustrate that with a couple of climate change related examples. And then how tariff measures, our HS codes under the WCO and our own EU specific classifications are being adapted in practice to identify green products, and why we think that this experience is actually feeding into the global discussions we're having here in the WCO to modernize the harmonized system. And then the third question is really to share with you how the EU works as one, together with our 27 member countries, to transform data into effective green custom action. And I think taken all together, these three elements show how customs, data, governance, and digital tools are becoming strategic instruments for delivering environmental policy at the border. So let me go to the first question I was mentioning. I have a few slides to illustrate that, which is a concrete example how EU policies on fluorinated greenhouse gases, which is called F-gases, and ozone-depleting substances, or ODS, are enforced at the border of the European Union by the custom authorities in the context of sustainability. And both EU policies in this field are really a central pillar of our climate and environmental framework, because reducing and controlling their use is an essential element of climate change protection policy, energy efficiency, and the transition to a more sustainable economy. So what you see behind these, which is a legislation on these two examples, is that a significant part of the policy is data-driven, which means that a large share of the trade data originates directly from the customs declaration, in particular from a mechanism we call surveillance in the European Union. And this is an EU-level system which aggregates real-time custom import and export data from all the 27 EU member states, and which allows us in the European Commission to monitor the trade flows and eventually sudden increases or anomalies. And then on this basis, we can identify potential risk, including in environmentally sensitive goods. And so in this way, you could say that the customs data become really the backbone of a policy design, an implementation, and an adjustment linked to sustainable policies. So what do we conclude is that the EU custom authorities, of course, are the first public authorities to see the goods. They see the operators, the data are involved in international trade, and through the customs declaration, we can capture the information on the nature, on the quantity, on the origin, and the destination of these substances and products. So in practice, the custom authorities will verify whether the imports, the exports are authorized, whether the quotas for these products are respected, and whether the products comply with the environmental legislations. And it's automated, the data is reused, and the risk analysis, therefore, is significantly improved. So the conclusion of this point is, without effective custom controls, these climate policies would remain largely theoretical, and it's thanks to customs that they are enforced and effective instruments in terms of climate change and sustainability objectives. Now, the second question is how tariffs can play a role, how HS code can play a role in that. So it takes us one step further, if you want, from data as an evidence to data as an operational tool for customs. How the goods are actually identified in practice is crucial to this. And this is the role, of course, of the tariff measures, of the product classifications that we know, the coding systems, and the way these instruments are adapted to support green policies and environmental protection is essential. So at the global level, what we see, and as you know well, is that the product identification starts with the WCO harmonized system, or HIS, and then we complement it, going one step beyond the HIS, and we have developed our own combined nomenclature and tariff, which is the integrated tariff of the European Union, which goes 2-digit more than the usual 6-digit of HIS. And so it tells custom authorities more in details and economic operators what are the rules which apply to a specific product at the moment of import or export, and it's updated on a daily basis, and it's used uniformly by all custom authorities across the European Union. It's freely accessible online. You can check it as an economic operator, and it means that whether you're a government, international partner, economic operator, it's easy to use. And so building on this experience, we have developed a strong knowledge on customs classification being used as a policy tool. And that's why we're actually advocating actively for the modernization and the greening of the WCO harmonized system, because we think we need to better reflect environmental and sustainability considerations globally, and to ensure that all custom authorities worldwide have the right tools to identify and separate the green goods from the less environmental friendly ones in a consistent and reliable way. And that way we can ensure a level playing field in global trade where sustainability rules can be enforced effectively at the border, using the customs data as a shared tool for transparent foundations. So to conclude with my third question, which is what makes this system work in practice, in terms of the governance structures and the organization. And again, I gave you another example of what we do in the European Union, which is what we call the EU single window, because the EU single window, as we know it, is a tool which ensures close cooperation within the European Commission and the member states, and to link legislation which can be specific to policy objective and digital policy in the context of customs, and link what we call custom authorities and market surveillance authorities, and to interconnect them, I would say, in a digital way and work as one. And so by digitally connecting the customs system with the systems of the competent sectoral authorities, checks can be performed at the moment of import based on the original and the certified data, and you have a much more automated verification process. At the same time, you can always do better, and that's why I want to finish by mentioning what we call the EU customs reform, which we hope to finalize in 2026, and which fundamentally is based on a data-centric approach on a new EU customs data hub, where all the trade data would have to be submitted once and only by the economic operators, and then they will be reused throughout the whole process by all customs authority inside the European Union. And that way, we aim to strengthen coordination, to strengthen the risk management and the analytical capacity at the EU level. So to conclude, our experience in the EU, as I illustrated with this example, shows that the customs, it's not a peripheral actor, if you want, in sustainable policy, but it's really now become a central operational driver. And customs and trade data provide the evidence base for green policy action. They enable the precise identification of green and harmful goods, and this way they can support the effective enforcement at the border of more sustainably friendly policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Yesterday, someone mentioned invisible customs. That is the work we do behind the scenes, the work we do on the data to make sure that when people receive their cargo, when they receive their goods, it is being checked, it is safe, it's secure, everything's been done, and they do not see any of it. They just see the release.
No,
And I think this presentation shows us some of the planning, the work, the policies, the development, the efforts that have to go into making that effective as we go into more and more complexity in customs and trade. And I also thank you for the plug for the HS, and I'd like to remind everyone HS 2028 is out, and we have done a lot for sustainability. And of course we spoke about the Montreal Protocol, so talking of illicit trade leads us nicely, Piotr, into your speech. Welcome please to the head of the unit at the OECD, Trade and Agricultural Directorate.
Thank you, Director. And thank you for having me here. My name is Piotr, and I work at the OECD, which is a public institution based in Paris. And I'm an economist by training. I love data. I believe data can tell a story. But as you rightly said, I lead a team that deals with illicit trade, meaning that today I'm proud and a bit embarrassed because you guys, each of you knows much, much more about things that me and my team try to measure. I only have 10 minutes, so firstly I would like to say a big thank you. I've learned a lot over the past 2 days. It's amazing to see great examples how to tackle illicit trade, how technology be useful, but also to talk to people, right? Because I'm confident that people's knowledge and expertise is something that really drives changes in what we work on. Today I only have 8 minutes left, and I'm a messy person, so I constrain myself just to deliver 3 main points today without PowerPoint. The first one is that data matter, and I'm saying this from an economist perspective. The second one is impact that customs can make comes from combining different data, right? No single data point can matter as much as combining different data points. And the third point is what is enabler here is governance and standards. They are really helpful in putting data together. And my points are not new. When I was listening to excellent speeches by Lars, Evan, Philippe, I would just repeat it from economist perspective. So data matter, right? What we do in our job at the OECD, we try to measure illicit trade from various perspectives. Why? Because data can tell a story, data can go beyond intuition, data gives some certainty, but also data, statistics can drive changing people's behavior. Data is a convincing argument. Well, I saw a doctor last week and he told me, Piotr, you're a bit too big, you're too fat. Yeah, whatever. Go on the scale. I go on the scale, I see data, I see the result expressed in number, and that changes my behavior, right? That changes my behavior more than any opinion. Let's say, oh my goodness, too much. Or last holiday season, I was driving in Poland on a freeway, and then I got a ticket, right? I got a ticket because the policeman said, well, here the limit was 60, and you had 75. The data, well, changed my behavior immediately, right? It wasn't just like an arbitrary opinion of a policeman. It was the data that changed my behavior. These examples are trivial. They're absolutely trivial, but they apply to the whole context, right? So data can tell a story, and data can change people's behavior, also policymakers' behavior. And that's why we're here in this panel, right? Because my second point is customs have unique treasure, data. This is unique treasure. Operational trade data are amazing in understanding trade, all its dynamics, all its aspects. In understanding illicit trade, data are key essential component, are the foundation for any analysis that we do. Declarations, HS codes, trade routes, goods traded, operators, inspection outcomes. These are all data that can help us understanding the situation, but also change behavior of policymakers. Say that, hey, customs, as Philippe said, it's not only revenue collection, it's much, much more. And actually, data themselves matter if they are combined together, right? Compliance performance data, permit certification, but also other data than customs, national accounts, labor statistics, environmental indicators. Put together, they can tell a powerful story. That's something we do at the OECD, combining different data from different data sources with economist eyes, economist angle. That's very powerful. That's extremely powerful. 1 + 1 = 3, equals 4 actually here. An example of results we have, like combining customs data with trade data and with national accounts on industrial outputs, we can measure or estimate the volume of illicit trade, right? Saying, hey, it's $460 billion a year. 460 billion US dollars. Humongous, right? It means that customs deal with a threat that is as huge as GDP of, well, Belgium. We can estimate losses to innovative countries like Sweden, right? A country with powerful economy that exports a lot and therefore is prone to risks of illicit trade. Or Italy, similar case. And we can say that in Italy, 70,000 jobs are lost every year because of illicit trade and counterfeits. Powerful number, 72,000, right? Switzerland loses about $100 million a year in foregone tax revenue because of illicit trade. Number, powerful, powerful number. So combining data can tell you a very strong story. That it's not seems to, appears to, it is a story, right? That can flag the importance of customs and also affect policymakers' behaviors. But what also matters here when you think about data, this is not a perpetuum mobile, right? As Lars said, data is currency, and nobody wants to give currency up for free. Currency is, well, for many reasons, as my director Janssen said yesterday, data sharing is not natural state of the planet, right? We have trust issues, we have different languages, we have, well, data protection regulations. Data sharing is difficult. It's difficult. We can always say, Piotr, lose weight, but how to do it in practice? We can always say, share data, but how to do it in practice? How to actually make sure that we share good data, right data, so that we can tell a story. And here, I'm confident that standards can be very useful. And I'd like to applaud World Customs Organization for your hard work, not only on making sure that we speak same language, so that the data are interoperable, but also that there are standards to share it. Standards that provide clarity, scalability of data use. Well, here at the OECD, we also work on voluntary standards for private and public actors in somehow different areas in data sharing, but such areas as, well, certification scheme for free trade zones, to make sure that we talk same language, right? To make sure that what is clean across the board, no matter what economy we are looking for. So for green customs, right, here the standard will be what is low risk, what is environmentally compliant, what it means in practice. What is the credible basis for facilitation targeting? What is competent regulation, right? Not to replace, but what is really competent complement regulation? So standards are essential, but standards need data, standard need indicators to look at. Well, I have 2 minutes left, but I think I was talking a lot, and there's smarter people than me in the panel. So let me just close by repeating what I said. Data alone will not make trade more sustainable. Data must be anchored in shared standards, clear governance, and smart incentives. And here, existing standards, our certification scheme is a good example of how voluntary standards can align enforcement, facilitation, sustainability, and I'm confident that our friends from World Customs Organization are really the right venue to move this discussion forward. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you for hearing Economist's view. Merci.
Thank you. I always like the analogy of data as currency, because just like money, if you leave data piling up in a corner, it's not doing you any good whatsoever. It's only valuable when you put it to use. And I would say that that is really what we're here today and yesterday and tomorrow for, is to look at how technology can help us turn data into usable information. So very important points. Now we've covered logistics, we've covered the systems that help us secure our supply chains and manage our supply chains. We've covered the work that's done by authorities around the world to make customs more efficient. And we've covered the policy work that goes into the wider scope of what we're doing. But we're missing one important element. So Yasina, I would like you to come and speak as Director of Strategic Initiatives from AD Ports to tell us about what's happening at the front line for your side.
Sure. Thank you, Gail. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure and a great honor to be part of you. So yes, we discussed about the importance of data. We discussed about the importance of data in the whole value chain of the trade. But as Gail mentioned, we are missing a part of it, which is the transport mode, whether air, port, or others. So from our end, from a port perspective, we are Abu Dhabi Port, we are a port operator, we are a port authority, we are providing logistics as well. For us, data is not longer just an operational matter. It has become a very strategic enabler for sustainability, efficiency across the whole value chain of trade. We are lucky and we have the chance to sit in a very unique position. We manage vessels, cargo, terminals, hinterland transport, customs and borders authority and borders agency. This position is give us a big opportunity, but also a very important responsibility in a way to turn the data that we have, the operational one, into a shared agencies and a shared information that add value to the whole value chain. And how we add value to the whole value chain is we see this as different layers. I will focus maybe on 3 or 4 of them. First of all, in terms of operational efficiency, which is the obvious part. Data improve our daily work in terms of berth management, in terms of yard optimization, in terms of gate flows. And this help us to avoid any fuel consumption, any waste of time, and any hour that we manage to win in our operations. It implies a lower fuel consumption, a lower emission, and a more predictable trade. It's also important in our activity in terms of policy, planning, and reporting. First, as a port, our data support in a better policy decision. It allows authorities to measure emissions, monitor congestions, and track progress against any national or sustainability or ESG agenda. Not through estimation, which we tend to do, but through real data. So we have the real information and we can take decisions accordingly. Obviously, what matters also for this forum and what matters also for customs organization, WCO, is that we have access to the information and early sharing of port data. It enables customs also to shift from a total inspection of cargo or a total control of the risk to much more targeted risk based on real information. Thus, definitely has an impact on clearing time, moving faster. Inspection is more focused on where it's matter, and it's remove unnecessary intervention, which also generates emission at the end. And all these elements, by sharing in a more accountable way with customs authorities, with other stakeholders' data, we manage to reduce this emission as well. But also it's built, and it's very important here, a sort of trust and cooperation with all the stakeholders in the value chain of trade. Because early sharing of data enables customs to shift and help us also to port and customs and environmental authorities to work on the same level of data, on the same quality of data, and at the end it's become a practical collaboration, but not only theoretical. And I would like here to just an illustration about our activities as a port when we have access to the all data in the value chain. It allows us to manage the dwell time. It allows us to give to all the stakeholders the right information to take decision in terms of lowering traffic at the port, lowering emission, giving the right information to the customs so they can start pre-clearing before even that the cargo is reaching to their facilities. So it's very important to show that this collaboration and having the right information at any step or any part of the value chain of trade, at the end, it's helping customs, helping us in doing our operations, helping the shipping companies to manage their operations, and the logistics providers as well. Now, it's important also that, yes, sharing data is important. Sharing data between all the stakeholders is an important matter, but what kind of data we need to share? From our expertise as a port authority, data has an impact on, and the data that we need is, one is related to advanced operational data, so vessel arrivals information, cargo manifest, terminal status data flow. All this helps the customs to prepare earlier to clear the cargo and to clear the merchandise. Also, end-to-end visibility. When the container journey milestones are visible, arrivals, discharge, gate out, all the authorities can identify delays, anomalies, and high-impact shipments without increasing the physical control. And regarding the sustainability, which is one of the most important topics that we are treating today, is sharing emission-related indicators such as waiting time, dwell time, and congestion support the greener routing decision and target intervention rather than just broad restrictions. Now, all of this cannot work without a clear governance. So, for us, governance and I would like to say technology is really the issue. The issue is mainly the governance and how we put the right governance structure to share data in a more efficient way together. First of all, we need a clear role and mandates. Each actor, the port, customs, or environmental authorities must be clear on what we need to produce as data, who consumes this data, and for what purpose we need it. Data sharing agreements must support day-to-day operations. We need to move from a high-level cooperation statement to much more concrete collaborations together and operation way. Also, common standards are very important here in terms of data quality, in terms of security standards, all this to build the right confidence and the trust and avoid any duplication. And lastly, joint governance forums like the one we have in today and these days. So we need a regular operation coordination to ensure that data sharing evolves with reality, trade patterns, risks, and sustainability priority changes. So at the end, when governance is practical and trusted, data becomes a routine enabler, not a special project. It's our day-to-day, is our routine, is our way to work. And to conclude here, ports can play a catalytic role in greener and more efficient supply chain, not by replacing authorities, this is not at all the purpose, but by enabling a better decision through shared and timely and trusted data. For customs and border agency, this means moving faster where the risk is low, focusing where the impact is high, and reducing frictions that no longer add in value economically, but mainly environmentally as well. Ultimately, sustainable trade is not only about new regulation, it's about better coordination powered by data. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's a nice note to wrap up the presentations on this one, because it shows how data actually can translate into something that is verifiable, that's measured, that can be monitored and proven. So I think this is an important message to have at the end of the presentations. Now, unfortunately, we're a little bit behind time, so I don't have, we're already over time a little, so we only have a little time for questions, but if we can take just a couple, thank you. All right, there was a question here, well, there was actually two questions, and one of them was to you, Philippe, and the other one was to yourselves, Lars and Evans, and that's on how data can be verified. So in terms of the verification, how do you ensure the integrity and the verifiability of the data and the product passports?
Yeah, I can start and I'll let you answer as well. Obviously, the answer is really straightforward. It's really clear as well, you know, this is the moment where we should be doing this. And the technology, the models, all the requirements are really there. I've been in customs for 42 years. I started very young, as you realize. But this is the momentum, right? Customs in the world news, trade is prepared to share data. But again, it's got to be verified and validated data. And of course, Piotr made the examples. You all heard us talk about data here, about the scale. When he was looking at the scale, and as an economist, he looked at, you know, maybe it's a little bit big number down there. When I'm a customs officer and look at the scale, I clearly know it's not verified data down there. It's much too high than reality. So, of course, we need to verify the numbers we have. And what we're talking about today with Passport, and Evan can just give a short comment on that as well, is, of course, that it's validated, verified source data we look at. And we look at multiple data sources. And we do that for our own reason, to create supply chain visibility for ourselves and for our clients. And my point here would be, for customs administrations, do it. Be part of this. You don't need to rebuild big data systems or put new computer systems in place. We can exchange that verified, validated data from data sources already today with as a hub for our Secuda systems, directly through dashboards or interaction or any API that is there with any customs administration that is represented in this room. And of course, it is about verifying many times and making sure you have source data. Evan.
I'll make 2 points. The first is that, and this is maybe a philosophical point, so what is truth and how do we know if something is true or not? And I would argue that we approach truth through multiple observations. In other words, in the technical statement, data becomes more and more verified and verifiable through the joining of data through multiple data sources. So if you have a lot of observations corroborating each other, that becomes more trusted. Now, applied to the product passport context, what that means is we're bringing together probably 5 billion transaction records on the global trade network in Altana. We're combining that with importer attestations about their bill of materials, their suppliers, and we're combining that with their supplier and supplier's attestations on their bills of materials and their supply chain operations. All three of those come together and can be corroborated. This then gets to the second point, which is that full traceability on everything on Earth is neither achievable nor desirable. And a risk-based approach to traceability in the context of a product value chain is, I would argue, the right one. So in other words, if we can provide this advanced supply chain information, if we can monitor the supply chain network of production of these product value chains and identify potential areas of risk or non-compliance, that then prioritizes the traceability initiative to go and get the purchase orders and commercial invoices and packing lists that can all be corroborated against each other using artificial intelligence. Like, these technologies exist, but you want to wield them where you need to.
Thank you. I think, data quality is a common challenge to all of us here, whether it's government or economic operators alike. And clearly, data quality is an essential element from a customs administration perspective, because without having sufficient data quality, your risk assessment and your risk management process just doesn't work. So it's essential for the custom authorities to ensure sufficient data quality. Now, how do you do that? I would say that you try to combine and compare as much data as you can. So, as you were saying, Lars, very rightly, I think multiplying the sources of data is a way to ensure that you cross-check, you compare, you analyze, you detect anomalies, and then you try to see whether you find abnormal patterns. And that's where one of the points Evan was saying, and I fully agree with it, comes in the notion of trust and check traders. Basically, you know you have economic operators who are fully reliable and should be rewarded for ensuring proper data quality. And then on the other hand, where you find a lesser quality of the data, that's where, as a custom authority, you want to focus your effort and you want to send the ball back out to them to say, well, given the low level of your data quality, I don't consider you are fully matured as a reliable partner. So you see, you have two ways of managing your risk and assessing them, and of course, given the limited resources that customs administration face around the world, you will want to focus on the second part. Thank you.
And it's all about getting smart customs in place, right? So again, what was already said here, you know, 27, 28% of world trade is passing through Maersk services, 15 and 16% we are moving. And that means, of course, with that type of technology and those type of advanced data points to actually verify data, together with other partners like ADP Ports as well and others we heard here, then we actually can and we should be using the partnerships between customs and trade to actually use industry systems and custom systems together and verify as much as we can, as was said by colleagues.
Thank you. And now I'm really sad because we have some really interesting and important questions here and we have run out of time. But the beauty of this conference is that you have gentlemen like these ones in front of you here. This is your chance to find them, to say, can I just quickly ask, and network and find the answers that you need to do your work to help us all in this process. So thank you, gentlemen. And I look forward to the future work we have in this area, and I'm sure we will all be working together along with many of the people in this audience. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gruby. Thank you also to our panelists for this very dynamic session. Well done. I heard here that 1 + 1 is 4. I certainly wish that were the case when we are drawing up our annual budgets at the WCO. Before you all run off to lunch, please bear with us for a moment because we have some important practical information for you for this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow morning, and also about your airport transfer. So I think it's important you can catch that. Please stay with us for a moment. During the lunch break, there will be 2 streams of tech talks, 10 minutes each, just like this morning. They are here on my right side of the conference room, your left. Please use this opportunity. The program is available in the app to listen to these exciting talks.
And there are some more administrative points, Hans, to be mentioned concerning the breakout sessions. Breakout sessions are going to start at 2 p.m., actually. And there will be the 2 streams for the breakout session. The stream A will be in the main conference hall where we are now. And it will have the interpretation, simultaneous interpretation, and in all 3 languages, English, French, and Arabic. Concerning the stream B, it will be in the breakout room, and there it will be in English only. And the topics and speakers in the breakout sessions are available on the conference application. And on the website you can consult it. And meanwhile, we do understand you need a little bit break also during these sessions, and our sponsors take care of this as well. Yeah. And there will be a coffee break between 4 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. So 30 minutes coffee break, sponsored by Crimson Logic, AD Ports, and Maersk. And breakout sessions will finish by 5:25 p.m.
Then for this evening, we have a unique experience for you. There will be a dinner in the desert. Our host for that will be the conference corporate sponsor Web Fontaine. At Al Wadba Desert, we will be outside, so I saw some people were already a bit cold yesterday. Please take this into account, so bring a coat, a shawl, whatever you need to stay warm. Only registered participants can attend the dinner, so like yesterday, we ask you to bring the badge, which I don't have on me. Shame on me. Thank you, Marka. Transportation will leave here from Adnek, like yesterday. The first buses will leave at 6. The last one will leave at 6:20. So try to be here at 6, but last call at 6:20. We will need a bit more time to get to the venue. The idea is to start the dinner at 7. Dress code like yesterday, smart casual. And we will finish around 10:30 when buses will bring you back to the conference center here. Tomorrow morning, we will start like we did today at 8:10 with some tech talks outside. In 2 streams. In the interest of time, I refer you to the app for the program. We will start the plenary at 9 here in the conference hall. Day 3 will be devoted to the theme Innovating for the Future of Customs. And what is very exciting is that we will also have the results of the hackathon competition. So the 6 groups will present their solution to the e-commerce challenge we provided them, and you will be able to also vote for who you think should be the winner. Then finally, as regards the airport transfer, we have been informed by our hosts that the ones who completed the form will be picked up 3.5 hours before your flight if you're leaving from Abu Dhabi airport, 5 hours before your flight if you're leaving from Dubai. So they will not send you a separate message with the time. Look at your flight. So from your hotel, there will be a transfer if you registered 3.5 hours in advance for Abu Dhabi, 5 hours for Dubai. With that, I'm happy to invite you to the lunch break, which is sponsored by SGS Gulf Limited, S2 Global, and see you all again here in this hall tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to do some tech talks now. Actually, there are some interesting things.